I'm 71 years old, and I need to say something that still surprises me when I hear it in my own head. You can be lonely in a full house. You can be lonely with voices in every room, dishes in the sink, shoes by the door. I didn't know that until it was already too late to change the shape of my life. I'm saying this now because time feels different at my age. It doesn't stretch forward anymore, it gathers behind me. And when I sit quietly in the mornings, before anyone else wakes up, I feel the weight of all the moments I thought would come later. There were years when my house was loud from morning to night, children running up the stairs, a husband clearing his throat in the kitchen, the television always on, even when no one was really watching it. From the outside, it looked like a good life. Sometimes I believed that was enough. I didn't feel lonely back then, at least not in a way I could name. I felt busy, necessary, needed for 100 small things. Lunches packed, shirts ironed, bills paid on time. I mistook usefulness for closeness. I thought they were the same thing. At 71, I know they are not. When I look back to my 30s, I remember being tired more than anything else. Tired in a way that felt permanent. I worked part-time at a local office, nothing fancy, but it demanded my attention. When I came home, the rest of my energy went to keeping everything moving. Dinner on the table, homework checked, plans made. I told myself this was love. I told myself presence meant being physically there. In the evenings we would sit in the same room, my husband with a newspaper, the kids with their books or toys. I was usually folding laundry. We were together, but we were each somewhere else. I noticed it sometimes, a small ache, like a draft you feel but can't find the source of. I ignored it. There was always tomorrow. I thought conversation was something that would come back when life slowed down, when the kids were older, when work was easier, when there was more time. I didn't realize that time doesn't wait for permission to move on. There were nights I wanted to speak, to say something real, to ask my husband how he was, not how his day went, but how he actually felt. The words stayed in my throat. It felt selfish to need more when everyone already needed so much from me, so I stayed quiet. Years passed that way, quietly, not empty, but thin, like soup stretched too far. I remember one afternoon clearly. I was standing at the sink, looking out the window. The house was full. The radio was playing. Someone laughed in the next room, and I felt a sharp, sudden loneliness that made me grip the edge of the counter. It scared me. I didn't tell anyone. I told myself I was just tired. That was the first time the truth tried to reach me. I wasn't ready to listen yet. At 71, I wish I had understood that loneliness doesn't always come from being alone. Sometimes it comes from being unseen. Sometimes it grows right in the middle of everything you work so hard to build. And once it settles in, it doesn't announce itself. It waits. I didn't think of myself as an unhappy woman. That's important to say. I wasn't miserable. I laughed, I showed up, I did what was expected of me, and most days I did it well. Unhappiness would have been easier to notice. Loneliness was quieter. My husband was a decent man, reliable. He fixed what broke. He came home every night. We didn't fight much. People used to tell me how lucky I was, and I nodded because I believed them. We had a rhythm that worked, or so I thought. What we didn't have was space for softness. Conversations stayed practical. Who was picking up who, what needed to be paid, what needed to be done. When I tried to talk about something heavier, something that didn't have an easy answer, it felt like dropping a glass on a concrete floor. The sound was wrong. The moment passed. I learned to stop trying. I told myself intimacy was for younger people, for people with fewer responsibilities. I told myself love matured into something quieter, something less demanding. I didn't know I was slowly shrinking my own needs to fit inside the life I had chosen. The children grew, as they do. They became busy with their own worlds. I was proud of them. I still am. But somewhere along the way, they stopped telling me the small things. I noticed it, but I told myself it was natural. I was doing my job right, I thought. They didn't need me the same way anymore. The house stayed full, but my role became less clear. I filled the silence with tasks, volunteering, extra shifts, cleaning things that were already clean. I thought if I stayed useful, the feeling would go away. It didn't. It only learned how to sit beside me without making a sound. There were moments I still think about. A birthday dinner where everyone talked over one another and no one noticed I hadn't finished my sentence. A holiday morning where I woke up early and realized no one else would notice if I stayed in bed a little longer. These weren't dramatic moments. No one did anything wrong. That's what makes them hard to explain. Loneliness doesn't need cruelty to grow. It only needs neglect. Not intentional neglect, just the kind that happens when everyone assumes everything is fine. I assumed it too. The years passed faster after that. My husband aged quietly. He slept more, spoke less. We became gentle strangers sharing a history. Sometimes I would look at him across the table and wonder when we had last really talked. Not about plans, about us. I don't remember the answer. At 71, I understand something I couldn't see then. Love needs maintenance, not grand gestures, just attention, just honesty. Silence, when it stretches too long, becomes a wall, and once it's built, it's very hard to take down. I lived inside that wall for years, without realizing I was the one who helped build it. The turning point didn't come with shouting or tears. It came quietly, like everything else in my life. My husband got sick in the winter. Nothing sudden, just a slow decline that no one wants to name at first. Doctor visits, new pills lined up on the counter, longer naps in the afternoon. I became a caretaker without thinking about it. It felt familiar. I knew how to be needed. I was good at that part. What I wasn't prepared for was how little we had left to say to each other. We spent hours in the same room. The television filled the space between us. I would ask if he needed anything. Water, a blanket. He would shake his head. Sometimes he would thank me. That was the extent of it. One evening, as I was helping him into bed, he looked at me in a way I hadn't seen in years. Not sick, just present. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. I waited. He smiled faintly and said, "You should get some rest." That was it. He died a few months later. Peacefully, they said. I was holding his hand. The house was full that week. Family came. People cooked. People cried. People told stories about him, about us. I nodded and smiled and thanked them. At night, when everyone left, the house felt different. Not emptier, just louder in its quiet. That was when the loneliness finally stopped hiding. I walked from room to room, touching the backs of chairs, the door frames, the places where life had happened. I realized how many conversations I had postponed, how many questions I never asked. I had assumed we would get to them later. I didn't know later could simply disappear. Grief is expected. Loneliness like that is not. People checked in at first, then less often. Life moved on, as it always does. I stayed in the same house, surrounded by evidence of a full life, and felt like a guest in my own memories. I thought about reaching out to friends, to my children, but I didn't know how to explain what I was missing. It wasn't company, it was connection. And that's not something you can request without feeling like a burden. So I stayed quiet again. At 71, I can say this plainly. I waited too long to speak when my voice still mattered in the room. I thought love could survive on routine alone. I thought presence meant proximity. I was wrong. There are things that cannot be fixed once they've been neglected long enough. That doesn't mean life ends. It just means it changes shape. If you're listening to this and something in you feels familiar, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what I wish I had known sooner. Silence feels safe in the moment. Over time, it becomes a place where relationships quietly disappear. I have learned to live with that truth now. Some mornings are still heavy. Some evenings are gentle. I accept both. I speak more, even if my voice shakes. I don't assume there will be time later. This is not a warning, it's a confession. And this is as honest as I know how to be.